Aluminum Company of America, in cooperation with CBS Television, presents the distinguished reporter and news analyst Edward R. Murrow in See It Now, edited and produced by Mr. Murrow and Fred W. Friendly. A weekly presentation of Aluminum Company of America, the nation's leading producer of aluminum. Now, speaking to you from the control room of Studio 41 is the editor of See It Now, Edward R. Murrow.
Good evening. This report might almost be called Victory at Thermopylae. It might also be called Walter Packard Returns to Greece, to a little village of which most of us have never heard. It may not have been a famous victory, but there's a statue to him there near the pass of Thermopylae. This is Walter Packard's story as told by reporter Bill Downs and cameraman Bill McClure, and also by Walter Packard. It is the story of an American spending taxpayers' money in pursuit of an idea stated by George Catlett Marshall in 1948.
This is Bill Downs aboard a Greek train approaching the historic pass of Thermopylae. It was here 2,400 years ago that the Spartans suffered their classic defeat and changed history. Today, in the same Spercheios River Valley, another kind of battle has been going on for the past 7 years. Only now, Thermopylae signifies a victory. And like the Persian Xerxes, another man made history here. Only this time, it was an American from California, 72 years old now. His name, Walter Packard. In 1948, he came to Thermopylae as an envoy of the United States government. Last year, he retired to his home in Berkeley. And now, in mid-June 1955, Walter Packard is returning to the valley to see how the battle goes.
Walter Packard first joined the battle when the British announced that they could no longer afford to protect Greece. In deploying the American mission for aid to Greece, the United States sent generals and colonels, tanks and mortars, and they also sent a soil expert who had learned farming in Iowa and irrigation and reclamation in California. Packard was 64 when he got there in 1948. The Cold War had been hot for 3 years then, and Hitler's war for 4 years before that. Poverty was there, and famine, and the communism it breeds was rampant. And the salt waters of the Aegean Sea were there too, and the alkali had for centuries been poisoning the land. Walter Packard did not know Greek, but he knew soil and laboratories. He told the Greeks they would have to flush and leach out their land. He lectured them like a county agent. He told them, in my country, we don't let the ocean rob us. We don't let our valuable water and soil drift unused into the sea. We make it work for us. Some of them laughed at Packard and called him a naive American who didn't know this land would always be barren salt beds. Others listened. Between the village of Anthili and the sea were 9,000 acres of cracked salt and alkali land. Fresh water from the river was running wasted into the sea. Packard and Greek technicians diverted this fresh water and channeled it across the land, thus rinsing the salt back into the sea. A system of deep drains was constructed to provide a method of permanently reclaiming the subsoil. Packard went on to tell them that if this experiment was successful, there would be an important byproduct. An entirely new crop would be raised on the old salt flats, rice. Rice is a tradition in the Greek diet, but has always been imported. And that when reclamation was complete, wheat and cotton and cattle feed could also be grown successfully. The Americans would help with Marshall Plan money and with know-how. That was in 1948. Now it is late June of 1955. And the Marshall Plan is ending. And a See It Now camera crew went back to Anthili with Walter Packard to observe the results of this 7 years' war on the plains of Thermopylae. The Walter Packards, and there were many such American agents, put more than 700,000 acres of Greek soil under flood protection or improved drainage. Wheat production is up 183% since 1948. This is the wheat of Panagiotis Christodoulou. He and his brother run 60 acres. This year's crop is better than 18 bushels to the acre, slightly better than the American average. Harvesting this crop by sickle would have once taken more than a month, Now, a United States-made combine, rented from a neighbor, does it in less than 2 days.
Well, how was your crop this year?
Posso stare per esses feitos? Oh, it's very fine, he said. It's very dry. He's getting about 520 kilos to the acre. Before, he couldn't farm this land because it was very wet. Now, since the walks have been constructed, he's having a very good crop.
Greek rice production is up more than 2,000%, and the Anthili Delta area, which never grew rice before, had $1 million crop last year. Wheat is harvested in the late spring, rice in the autumn. Walter Packard watches as the malaria control plane sprays the rice paddies.
Look at that. What's that? Is there any malaria here now?
No. Be sure there is no malaria at all.
Well, I understood that it was a problem here at one time.
Oh, yes, sir. Some 6 years ago, before the rice program, there was a lot of malaria. 80% of the people during summertime were in bed, just sick. It was awful.
And the health program that was carried out by the government stopped that, and now they're spraying in order to continue the good conditions.
Exactly,
is that it?
Exactly. This is, we are extending our system over that new land here.
Well, say, Andy, how much land have you claimed so far?
We have claimed some 4,500 acres.
How much is left? Does that finish it nearly?
No, sir. We cannot say that yet because we have some 5,000 more.
Well, where?
You see over there, the Thermopylae. That area, all that area is to be reclaimed yet. And it's included in our master plan.
But say, Andy, are you replacing all of the old wooden gates with these new concrete structures?
Yes, sir. We replaced the old gates with new concrete structures because we can have a better control of water, you see.
Who designed these new gates?
The ministry did that.
Well, they must have cost quite a bit of money. Well, who's paying for that? You aren't getting any more American aid.
We know that pretty well. You see, the farmer districts are paying for the gates. And they did a very nice job, you see.
They're paying for it themselves now out of their annual taxes.
Yes.
A farmer asked Mr. Packard what he should do about the scum that collects on his rice fields.
We can send him a copy of a bulletin of the U.S. Department of Agriculture. They have a bulletin on that very subject. And we can send it to the Extension Service, and then the Extension Service can give it to the district here, and the information will be circulated among all the farmers.
Many foreigners have left their mark in Greece. Xerxes, Alexander, Caesar, Ataturk, Hitler, and now the Americans. 65 million in taxpayers' dollars have left a system of irrigation ditches, levees, 3 hydroelectric power plants, and a nationwide network of transmission lines, reaching all the way up to Thermopylae and to the village of Anthili. Ham Doherty, a power expert from South Dakota, supervises.
You're getting power into the village after all.
Yes, we're nearly complete now.
Well, say, have you connected up the big pumping plant down there?
Yes, we have.
How much will a family here have to pay for power in a month?
Well, our experience so far is they average about $1 a month, but we have a very good rate,
What is
electric
the minimum
rate.
rate you have to pay?
Well, the minimum is 50 cents, but we expect that the average bill in the village here should be $3 or $4.
It's got to make a big difference when they get power. And you know, another thing that astonished me more than anything else was that when I first came to Greece, there was no hydropower, there was practically no irrigation, and here's a village that is irrigating their land and increasing their wealth enormously, and now they're getting power, and it's going to make a big difference in their living standards.
Paul Bunyan, they say, came in with a blue ox. Walter Packard came riding in on an olive drab Jeep in 1948. And it was the same Jeep that returned him to the Good Heart Tavern last week.
You want to drink some coffee or Mr. Parker? Oh, I'd like some coffee. Cafe Metria. Metria? Yeah. Diometrius, very. That's fine. Well, where's everybody else? You all working everybody working in the field now. Everybody. Everybody's busy. Everybody's busy. Sure, lots of jobs now, Mr. Parker. Lots of jobs. Yes, sir. And then how about the health of the people? Are they in better health than they used to be? Better, Mr. Parker. They're eating good, more now? Strong, eat more. They eat more than they used to. Eat more now. Yeah, what do you eat more? Everything. Meat. Before we eat, but one time a month. Now we eat 2-3 times a week. Of meat? Meat. Oh, that's fine. Yes, sir. That's sure. Children. Goodness. Well, say, you know, when I came in, I saw a lot of new houses along the road. Now, how many new houses are there in town?
40 to 100.
40 to 100.
All new ones.
40 to 100 houses.
Sure.
All new houses.
Yes, sir.
Oh, that's perfectly grand.
Sure.
And I saw some tractors out in the field, and I saw one in town. You got a lot of tractors?
Got a lot of it. Over 100 now.
Over 100 tractors?
Sure.
Well, you only had 2 or 3.
3, that's all.
48. 3, and now you got over 100.
Most of everybody got a land, he got the tractor too.
He's got a tractor
Sure.
too? Well, and bicycles? I see the kids riding bicycles when I was coming in.
Every kid they got bicycles too.
All the kids got bicycles?
150.
150 bicycles?
Yes, sir.
Oh, that's certainly grand. How are the children, are there more children in the village all the time now?
Packard is told, we used to have 10 marriages a year. Now we have 20 to 30 marriages per year. And many more babies, too.
Well, then, more rice, more babies. Is that right?
That's
the way it goes.
The story of Walter Packard and what happened at Anthili continues immediately after this report from Alcoa, the Aluminum Company of America.
This hollow metal cylinder is a piece of Alcoa aluminum tube. In its various forms, Alcoa aluminum tube is used for such familiar products as television antennas and highway lighting standards. Alcoa produces tube made of many different aluminum alloys in hundreds of different diameters and thicknesses. And progressive manufacturers know that they can make a better product and also save money when they use Alcoa aluminum tube. Some of this tube has the advantage of being easy to form. It's also lightweight and handsome in appearance, which is why it's used for outdoor aluminum furniture. Alcoa Utilitube has high strength and costs substantially less per foot than tubing of other metals. That's why it's ideal for handling lubricants, fuels, refrigerants, and compressed air. Alcoa aluminum tube is also highly resistant to the corrosive action of many chemicals and acids, which makes it ideal for use as heat exchanger tubes and heating coils in processing plants. Other uses include portable scaffolding and irrigation and construction pipe. If you're using tube or pipe, contact your local Alcoa sales office to find out how you can make your product better by using aluminum. The aluminum by Alcoa, Aluminum Company of America.
In Greece, no visit of a distinguished hero is complete until he has gone to visit the local school. This is the grade school in Anthili. Walter Packard came here in 1948. Most of these children were born during the Civil War and are also members of the class of 1948. They remember Walter Packard as Papu, grandfather, and the teacher had them well briefed on the return of the American, who is half Paul Bunyan and half Johnny Appleseed.
I don't want to interfere with the class today.
Παρακαλώ. Τιμή μας είναι μεγάλη να μας επισκεφτείτε στο σχολείο μας και η χαρά μας που σας ξαναβλέπουμε, που φέρατε τη μεγάλη ευτυχία στο χωριό μας, που τα παιδάκια μας τώρα είναι πιο ζωηρά, πιο γερά, με όλα τα καλά που μας φέρατε.
Oh, no, she says. She wants that interruption because she thinks it's a great honor for the school to have you visiting them.
Well, I can't tell you how delighted I am to be back in this class again. You know, I can hardly realize that when I visited this class first, very few of these children were born. Well, you know, when I go back home, which will be very soon, I'm going to see some of the schools in California and find some school that will correspond with this school here, so that the children in California can learn something about Greece, and so that the people in Greece can learn something about California. Well, I must go, and so I'll just say addio. Addio.
Another product of the U.S. mission is the district farmers' meeting. As at American town hall and Grange meetings, the farmers have a wide area of agreement and disagreement, everything from weather to crops.
Απριλίου. Μετά το Πάσχα αρχίσαν τα έργα και οι εξκαφείς και ο εργολάβος να εργάζονται. Πού βαρτίσαμε το Φλεβάρι να φτιάξουμε τα έργα, τα χειμωνιάτια. Τι κύριο κύριε, αφού μου λέγανε και δεν φτιάχνουμε και τώρα δεν τα φέρει. Όχι, άκουρα κύριε, να πει ότι τα πει. Το γίγια το κουστίτε εδώ, δεν είναι ζημιά, δεν ρώστε. Τι να θα πάει αυτό πίστη. Αυτό δεν το θέλω. Άκουρα σε παρελθόν με τον, συμβάζει δεν βλέπετε, και όλες οι κάμερες ανοιχτά μέρες. Δεν το βλέπετε,
But there was general and unanimous agreement that Walter Packard was their friend, and they were pleased to have him back in Anthili.
Κύριε, είμεθα στην ευχάριστον θέση που ακριβώς σαν αύριο εγένετο τα αποκαλυπτήρια της προτομής του Πάκαρντ.
Mr. Packard, the chairman says that it is a very special day today, because tomorrow it will be about exactly 1 year since the unveiling of your statue at the square of Anthili. And right here, after 1 year, you bring back to Anthili the electrical light, a success and an achievement of Anthili which it's again due to your love to Anthili. And that's the reason they thank you again.
Well, you know, this meeting makes me feel very much at home. I've attended farmers' meetings in California and in other states in the West where they've had to discuss exactly the same things that you're discussing here. It's a very good indication, in fact, that everyone here feels perfectly free to say what he pleases. And I don't want to interfere with your meeting tonight. I'm just here as a friend of the court. I want to listen to your discussions and perhaps enter into them later if you care to have me do so. But I want to say that I'm very pleased to be with you.
One of the first families in the Sparkios Valley to arrange for electricity was Panagiotis Christodoulou, whose last 2 bumper crops have enabled him to build a stone house.
4 rooms and 5, one additional one.
Will there be a separate room for the children?
Θα έχεις χώρια για τα παιδιά δωμάτια.
Χώρια για τα παιδιά δωμάτια.
And what about a kitchen? Is it going to be in the house this time?
Και η κουζίνα θα είναι μέσα.
Μέσα η κουζίνα, μέσα.
And you're going to have electric lights too?
Και θα έχεις φώτα, θα βάλεις.
Φώτα, βέβαια.
Oh, boy. Well, what does your wife think of that?
Η γυναίκα σου τι λέει τώρα με αυτές τις.
Θα ξεκουραστεί λίγο.
She will be happy, very happy.
Oh, καλά. That's very nice. Very nice.
Πολύ ωραία.
Well, ευχαριστώ. Adieu.
In the land of Prometheus, the legendary Greek god who gave the world fire, a switch made in Schenectady bridges the gap between mythology and technology. At the town square of Anthili, there is a statue of a septuagenarian in a bow tie. The inscription says Walter Packard, and it was lit up that first night. On Walter Packard's last day in Anthili, the stork, a good luck omen in Greece, was perched on the church. And that afternoon, the elders of the town assembled before the Packard statue to be photographed with the original model. There were 20 town fathers and 3 future farmers in the picture, and 20 directors for the local cameraman. After the class pictures, there was a municipal banquet, complete with dancing in the street, barbecued lamb, and Ratsina wine. The priest, the mayor, the district president were all there.
Και τώρα, κύριε, πίνουμε στην υγεία του κυρίου Πάκαρτ και στην υγεία του αμερικανικού λαού, που με τη βοήθειά τους μας φτιάξαμε τα χωράφια μας. Άντε, στην υγεία. Λόγο. Thank you very much. Mr. President and your reverence and friends, this may be my last visit to Anthili. You know, it's a long ways from here to my home in California. But I want to, in perhaps giving my last farewell or another farewell, to congratulate you on what you have done up to now and to express my complete confidence in your ability to go ahead and a forward movement from now on. Ευχαριστώ.
Now, Marshall Plan aid to Greece, as to all other European nations, is ending. Winston Churchill has called the Marshall Plan the most unsordid act in history. Walter Packard calls it enlightened self-interest, and feels that Greeks, like his old assistant, Pritsos Latsos, will carry on.
Now that you have seen Anthili and the works, what do you think?
Well, you know, Free, I'm terrifically pleased with what's been done here. I think the accomplishment is marvelous. When we came here, you'll recall, as I do, that the rural area of Greece was dominated by the communists. It was actually in their hands. Anthili had its share. And now that has been overcome. The communism at that time was very largely originating from poverty. People, you know, who are poor, who have no land, who have no jobs, and who are hungry, are destitute. They're desperate. They'll do anything. And here, through the aid of the mission, it sort of started the work going, and then through the cooperation between the ministry in Greece and the people themselves, they've gone ahead and they've overcome poverty, and it seems to me that's a real democratic victory. What do you think?
Well, Walter, you know it very well. This country has been invaded 400 times since the beginning of history. In more recent times, it has been an occupation yoke for 400 years. And now, since its liberation 130 years ago, it had nothing else but wars. First, the liberation struggle in the 1821s, then wars throughout the last century, war in 1912, the First World War, 1922, and then the Second World War with its horrible consequences. Well, it's a poor country, and we know what we still got to do in order to advance. But we'll catch up if we only can maintain that peace for which all we free nations have fought for so many years to secure. Give us some peace. Give us time to educate our generations and use them for our rehabilitation. And I think, in fact, I'm sure, we'll succeed.
If you pay taxes in this country, you had a share in that victory near Thermopylae. Walter Packard, wise in the ways of men who work with their hands, was your agent. Of course, not all the agents who worked for the Marshall Plan were equally successful. Not all of them had statues erected to them. Good night and good luck.